Welcome to Neurodivergency, where neurodivergent voices and friends turn struggle into strength. We're here to break the stigma around mental health, dive into truth about our brains, and bring you real tools for clarity, healing, and hope. Today's guest is Tineke Rensen, who is a water healer, healing the water within and outside of you so that everything flows and is free again. Welcome to the show, Tineke.
Hi, Anthony. Thank you for inviting me here in your show. I'm thrilled to have this conversation together with you.
Yeah, it's gonna be a very interesting conversation. So start let's start off by having you tell us a bit about yourself and what brings you here.
Well, that's a long story. Um, I am a digital nomad. At the moment, I am traveling through the south of France to the Qatar region, which is a very interesting region with a lot of energy and a lot of healing waters and wells and Lourdes, which is a pilgrimage for people who are Catholic. Um, I am outside, as you see. I'm camping. So for the people who are interested, it's 10 degrees outside Celsius. But since it's so nice and sunny, and I can wear protective clothes, I am sitting next to the river Aude. I always try to find places near the water because water is my life. And I never realized how much it is my life. I mean, I've been a swimmer, a diver, a snorkeler. I've been competing whitewater kayaking, actually even in the Dutch team, competed world championships, Euro Cups. I am a Dutch champion. Um, I had a water sports business with rafting, whitewater kayaking, canyoning. But I never ever was aware what the water actually is. I mean, when you live in nature and when you are very much in nature, you have a different perspective on nature. But still, seeing everything, well, not with the eye, but the knowing, that is a whole different story. And that is what started to happen to me. Actually, a couple of years ago. And it's interesting. This now comes to me. Similar time when I finally, at the age of 58, got the diagnosis of autism. Um, I was never aware I am autistic. I always struggled with a lot of things. Um, and looking back, it made sense that I became an entrepreneur because I don't fit into someone else's system. I always want to do my own thing. So I made the right choices. But the whole social environment, that was never easy for me. Managing my team, for example. Um, yeah, I preferred to hide away from it. But when you have a business, you have to do things that are out of your comfort zone. But I did not know how much it was out of my well, I felt it, but the diagnose confirmed all these struggles. Um, yeah, and since my 18th, when I started living out of my parents' house and living on my own and studying and meeting different people, I started to notice how different I was. When you're at home in your own safe environment, you're not so much aware. Everything is the same and people know you. But here, yeah, I didn't fall into place. So I started reaching out for counseling and therapy. And I actually have been doing that all the rest of for 40 years. So when they did the diagnose, it was hard to trace because I had to go back to say, yeah, well, this is how I used to be, and this is where I struggled with, but I overcame it. So I strongly believe it's not a diagnosis for life. But
Yeah,
anyway,
wow,
yeah.
there's so much that you've shared there, a little bit about your life path and the involvement with water, and we're gonna dive deep into that. Haha. Um, I Also I'm hearing the not fitting into the box and also pursuing entrepreneurship and then finding this late in life diagnosis of autism, that all have shaped you. So I'm curious to know, can you paint us a picture of what some of the worst struggles were like in your life? And you can either talk about a phase in your life or a particular moment. But yeah, can you kind of illustrate some of the low points that you've experienced?
Well, feeling insecure all my life, not anymore now, but most of my life feeling insecure and always being afraid that people would find out that I was not the person I was pretending to be, and that then they wouldn't like me anymore. Um, that's been hunting me and haunting me most of my life. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really stressful. I mean, we don't necessarily identify it as stress because we get
Mm,
used to it. We put on
yeah.
so many masks,
Yeah.
and we also don't have any other reference point. Like my experience is my only experience. You don't have another person's experience of life as a reference point to say, wait a minute, this is different.
Yeah. N- I sensed I was different. I sensed that people responded sometimes weird to me, or they thought I responded weird. And so, what this is the flip side, but the I always like to look at the bright side. The side is that I learned and trained myself to read faces, to read body language. So people don't have a lot of secrets for me anymore now. So it really helps me now, when I'm working with people and helping them to heal and helping them to grow. I see the things they're hiding, um, because that was my protection mechanism. That was my way of, oh, apparently they don't understand this. Oh, now they're puzzled. Oh, now they're touched. Oh, I need to say something else. You probably understand. This mind is going so quick. It's going 10 or 100 times quicker than other people. So before they realize I said something wrong, I already corrected it. But it's very exhausting. So, but it
Yeah.
helps me now. It really helps me now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm curious to know, what does life look like for you these days? Like how does it feel, particularly with relationship to um the understanding of neurodivergence and just your mental well-being and your lifestyle?
Yeah. Um, well, after I got the diagnosis, I could finally relax because I could finally accept, okay, so this is who I am and this is what it is. So didn't have to fight myself anymore. So yeah, it took a while, and now I don't give a shit what people think about me anymore. I don't care at all. I don't care if they think I'm loud, because I have a loud voice. I don't care if I zone off and don't want to engage into a conversation and they're disturbed by it. It really doesn't matter at all anymore. Nothing. I've learned to always look at the bright side. I've learned to see that life is always happening for you. I work with energy, and whatever you broadcast, whatever you need to grow, that is the situation that is going to come into your life. And as long as you start to fight it, like I did, nothing is going to change. But as soon as you surrender, and in my case, accepting this is who I am, everything changed, everything flipped. And my self-esteem does not depend anymore on what other people feel or think or say or talk behind my back, which now makes me talk about the things that are pretty pretty crazy for 80% of the people in the world. But I don't care because I'm not speaking to them. So
Yeah, that makes
it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and I think we can all resonate with the fact that there are some people that we naturally get along with better than others. There are people that we vibrate more closely to, and we feel it, but we don't necessarily have explanations. And sometimes these things like a diagnosis can help us make sense, can help us explain. Yeah, and I don't want to reduce it to just that. Obviously, there's a lot of other life experiences that have happened for you in your growth journey. So I'm curious to know what were some of the major milestones in your life? You talked a little bit about some of your professional direction changes, but I'm curious also about the mental, emotional, spiritual kind of practical tools and things that you've encountered that have led you to where you are today.
The transitioning from being a masculine woman to becoming more feminine. I always had to prove myself. And that was hard work, but I achieved a lot. I had a successful business. I was a national champion. I got married. I had 2 kids. We had a horse. I ran a full-time business. I mostly raised the kids. So, bonjour. Yeah, there was a lot of work. And if I look back at it, I think with the diagnosis I had, where did I get the energy from? So that is what I learned, that somehow I did not have the thing that many people with autism have, that they're always tired and that they turn into uh, depression because life is so overwhelming. Um, I just I was always the go-getter. I have to prove that I can do it because that gave me the proof and the satisfaction that I was okay, that I was enough. It's not true, of course, but that was how I was at the time.
Yeah.
Now I don't need to prove anything. I'm last year when I was doing podcasts, I felt a little bit ashamed, like, I don't have an office anymore because I have a home, I have a house, and it's mine. It's not from the bank, but I rent it out to live the lifestyle that I want and to not have to struggle with money or anything, and to travel and to be near water. So the consequence is that I have an outdoor office, and it's beautiful. Um, I travel. I sleep in a tent. I sleep in a caravan. I sleep in an Airbnb or in an apartment, wherever I feel I want to be. So it's not only I didn't only create the freedom of living the way I want to live, but also the freedom of mind, of not caring anymore about what other people think. And that wasn't like a one-time thing. It's been a gradual process. And actually I can see it when I look back at things. Like I just said, like last year, I would try to pimp up my car and create a background so that people couldn't see I was sitting in the car. And now, yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
So there's so many people care about appearance. Um, and that is such a big thing in our society. And it wears you out because it prevents you from being who you want to be and who you are.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of wisdom there. Um, yeah, a lot of conditioning that we experience that make us wanna or feel like we have to portray ourselves in certain ways or not look weak, not look like certain thing. But actually it creates a pressure within us, and however small or big, depends on how long that pressure has been there and how deep it is, but that can really lead to some terrible consequences. Um,
Mm, yeah.
yeah, I'm
And you
curious.
know what?
Yeah.
The system, the support system that we then get after the diagnose, that varies a lot. And I don't know, are you from the US? No, you're not, eh?
I'm French.
You're French.
Mm.
But you know, they go to medication so quickly. Um, they teach us how to fit in and why and how we're weird. But to me, it's the other way around. To me, I mean, I believe, and now we go to a spiritual way of what actually the diagnosis is about. I feel that neurodivergent people are more connected. And unfortunately, for some people, this feels overwhelmed. We should be taught not to eliminate everything that we perceive. We should be taught to canalize that, to
Yeah,
channel that,
yeah,
because we perceive the world in a way that I mean, I'm arrogant enough to say everybody should perceive it that way. Um, but because we don't behave like the masses, because we're so open, so honest, so true, we don't need to pretend. Although I did try, I never managed because people always sensed something was off. I was the only one who didn't notice. Um, I feel we are here um, to bring truth to the world. That we are here to show we are the more receptive persons. We are the aware people. We are the non-judging people. We are the not playing games and tricks people. What if everybody would be that way?
yeah,
What if?
absolutely. And that's what these conversations are for. I'm not here to advocate whether neurodivergence or neurotypicals have a greater or lesser perspective, but the point is, the world is designed in a very neurotypical way, and
Yeah,
when we are neurodivergent, we don't fit in, and that creates pressure while at the same time, the whole world is spiritually disconnected. And to reconnect to that will improve the lives of everyone. Just
absolutely.
making sense of those parts of us, those big existential questions. I know this was one of the big things that led me to the psychiatric hospital. I had these manic things of I'm God, like these realizations of very spiritual breakthrough stuff, but I did not have the education, the groundedness,
Mhm.
to be able to integrate them in a way that fits into society. And yeah,
And
it seems
what
that
if it
you're,
wasn't manic, Anthony? What
yeah,
if it was true? Because we are all God.
that's a whole other thing. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So you were way ahead, and this is so horrible. Then there is no person to go to, so you go to psychiatric, and they think you are delusional or they think you are manic. But what if that is not true? But what if they're not educated enough yet to see what's going on?
Yeah, that's
That's
the
a question.
perspective that, yeah,
Yeah,
sadly in the Western medical system is something that's not very strongly emphasized, rather completely missing for most people's
yeah,
experience.
yeah,
But and to contrast that, actually, I want to bring in a different perspective that in some indigenous tribes and wisdom traditions, experiences like that would be highly valuable.
yeah,
And the members of the tribe would not outcast that person, but rather try to learn from them and try to
yep,
download
exactly.
what are they channeling from what universe, and what can we as a tribe learn from that experience.
Yeah. I
But
remember one of the questions when I had to do the diagnose, and it was like, "Do you hear voices in your head?" And I thought, well, I have to be really careful what I'm going to say here now. Uh, but yeah,
yeah, I find
it's
these questions are so unprecise.
yeah.
I mean, I recently I might have autism myself. I'm just waking up to this. I did a screening called the RADS-R, RAADS-R. It's 80 questions. It's freely available. Um, on an autism website, and I scored well into the autism range. So now I'm actually on a path to explore with the
Mm,
psychiatrist as my next steps. Like, can we go do the autism assessment then and just double check this thing? And the point that I'm sharing this story is when I was taking that autism screening test, a lot of the questions I was like, I could either answer strongly yes or strongly no. And the difference is going to be 0 points or 3 points, depending on the interpretation of one single word. Like, what does strong mean in this context? Are you
exactly.
serious? Yeah.
Oh yes, I love it.
So
I love it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I
There's not,
think
but there is not one interpretation because we see so much more. Yeah, I love it.
yeah, not only that, but also assessing these kind of things like neurodivergence and trying to understand mental, emotional, spiritual behaviors based on some questionnaires that might actually require you to remember from long back in the past also is such a hard thing. So I want to emphasize the point that it's not black and white. It's
No.
actually really just a full area of shades of gray.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and you know what is very, very important is the kind of support you get after. I had a coach who and that's the beauty. Once you have a diagnose, a whole lot of help arrives free. Yeah, you don't need to pay because then in my country at least, once you have
yeah,
a so-called mental handicap or whatever it's called,
yeah,
they pay for it. So I got free coaching, but she helped me to understand which parts were my autistic traits, and then I could accept them for the way they were. So it really helped me. But you need to have the right, proper help, not someone who tries to help you fit back into the system, because a lot of the help is around that. And that makes you more insecure, and it creates more havoc and chaos and tiredness. Yeah.
yeah, that can be really tricky. And
Mm,
hopefully we're building a better world by having more of these conversations. More and more companies are becoming neurodivergent aware,
yeah.
happy to offer accommodations. And yeah, I mean, this is what the work is. It's to go through those processes and try to make things better for the next. Um, yeah, what was your experience like once you got diagnosed? What was the help available to you, and how much of an impact did that have, whether in practical, real terms, or even in just self-awareness and self-understanding terms?
Well, the help that was available was that I had 1 week, every week I had a coach, and she came to my house. She helped me understand why lists helped me. I mean, I already figured out that I need to create lists to have peace in my mind, but I never understood why. So she could always, I like to know the why. That helps me when I understand, and when it makes sense, my mind can quiet. There's no question. There's
Yeah,
so that helped me a lot. Um, I got help with my financial situation. Um, I've always paid coaches myself, always. I've always been on the search of mental growth and spiritual growth. Um, uh, well, yeah, no, there's, it turned out that more people in my family, I have two kids and I was married at the time. No, not anymore. But more of us had autism, and that's all I want to say about it.
Yeah.
But I started to understand them more, and they started to understand me more. Um, yeah, and it comes in so many different forms and ways. I think there's a couple of hundred characteristics, and no person with autism has them all.
Yeah,
So that
it's a
is why it's also
complicated,
difficult.
yeah,
Yeah,
very
because one
complex
one
profile.
one person in my family, she's depressed. The other and she's very overwhelmed and very tired all the time. And I'm super active. Um, my other one of the other persons in my family too. So yeah, it's
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
mhm.
I still don't have a full understanding of what autism can look like, and particularly when it's has additional layers of complexity, like if you have ADHD as well, then that looks even more varied because ADHD is varied, autism is varied, and if you have a mix of both, you have so many possibilities.
Yeah.
Um, I'm curious to know what would you tell the younger version of yourself who is struggling? Like with the experience that you have, imagine one of the listeners is a younger version of you and has some of these challenges, but doesn't really know how to go about it. What would you tell them?
You are exactly right the way you are. You are designed this way. This is why you came on this planet. And you might not understand that fully yet, but you are perfect the way you are.
It's a it's a beautiful message. I can hear parts of me surfacing going, yeah, but what if I'm not enough? What if I need to fit into society so that people can love me, so that I can have a steady situation, so that I can please my parents, so that all of these things, this internal resistance comes up. Let's continue that
Well,
conversation. Now
thank
what?
you for being so honest and open about it. But nobody needs to love you. The only person who needs to love you is you. And if that is what you can do, and it's probably harder for us because we don't fit in, but if you can, that is where true freedom lies. And that is why I said you are perfect the way you are, because if you can see that that is actually the way you are designed, that there is a purpose. uh, Love yourself is the most important thing of all. Nobody is obliged to love you, and please don't try to fit in. don't
Yeah,
don't
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So we have the goal, which is ultimate self-love, and the path to getting there is just to
Yeah,
keep building that
and
up.
and
Mm,
because we are uncomfortable to other people, because we speak our truth, because we confront them, we are not always being nice and gentle. It's their problem that they can't deal with us. And sorry, I don't want it to make a day in them, because
no, it's a great point.
it's not black and white.
Yeah,
But we don't need to fit in to people who are, yeah,
yeah.
I don't know how to
No, what
say, but
what I'm
nobody
hearing
needs to
from
fit
that
in. Nobody
is
needs
that
to fit in.
somebody else's triggers are not your fault, not your problem.
Responsibility.
Yeah,
Exactly. We
yeah.
we are not there to ease their triggers. I love how you say that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
We are
very, very
actually
important
there.
concept.
Now, let's turn this around. We are there to show them their triggers so that they have the
Absolutely.
opportunity to grow and to evolve
Yeah, yeah,
spiritually,
absolutely.
physically, mentally. holistically.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
I think
that's
that is why there are so many neurodivergent people now. I don't believe the reason that what they say is that, but yeah, we didn't diagnose them and they were just difficult children when 40 or 50 years ago, or even longer. I think that there are more of us now coming to the world, all before because of this reason. There is a plan somehow.
yeah, 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 definitely. And yeah, yeah, we can go so many directions. I'd love to shift more towards how did you get into water? And for context, there's some really fascinating things about water and the self. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong on any of these, but what I've heard is our body mind is made uh, by weight of somewhere between 60 to 70% of water. And not only when we look at weights, it's actually not that much. But when we look at the number of molecules that are in our body, it's above 90%, maybe somewhere like 90 to 95% of the
Yes,
molecules inside of us are water. Is that right?
it's absolutely correct. And the
Wow.
numbers vary. Men and women have different volumes of water weight. Some people say 90%, 99% molecules. But yeah,
Yeah.
so
Wow.
we're looking at a vessel of water with some skin over it. We're
Yeah.
looking at all everything around us here that is water. The air that I breathe has water molecules in it because it's always evaporating. It's always around us. The tree, it has water. There,
Yeah.
so water is the first source of life. And I can go very deep about that because I do a webinar about that today at 5 p.m. my time, where I take people back to source, and water has an immense part in that. Why do you think it's called that way? Why is source called a water word?
I don't know.
Well, because it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it
So,
makes me think of spirituality, actually,
yeah,
like the source of existence itself, the source of life, the universe.
yeah. I
And
mean, if
what's
you
the
look
link?
at it in a physical way,
Mm,
the first life starts with sunlight and water. If you want to do a test, put a bucket of water outside in the sunshine, and after a couple of weeks, the water turns green. Algae started to form inside that water, the first form of life. And if you keep it, it will grow and it will grow. So that is the magic that water and light have. But if you go deeper into a spiritual, and if you go to religion, they say first life started when God spoke the words over water. But who is God? Or what is God? Religion made a person or a type of it. But what if that is energy? What if that is light? And light cannot be seen in the absence of water. That is something I've discovered. So light cannot transfer or transmit itself when there is no water. Consciousness, light, frequency, cannot travel in the absence of water. It's always traveling through water molecules around you. You are vibrating, you are speaking. A word is sound, is a vibration, but where does it travel through? Through the water in the air. It also comes to the water in your body. Everything you say and speak so important. And that is why they say God spoke the word. Sound, water, light. Three things. Well, what if that is the Holy Trinity? What if? Thank you.
Beautiful. What an unexpected happening. Uh I love these deep questions that try to bridge the gap between the physical world and the immaterial worlds, and the the big questions like, why is there even an existence or phenomena that are perceivable? Because for me, it's of particular interest because it relates to my mental wellness journey. But I think, as I've had conversations with many guests in this podcast, a lot of them talk about how spirituality, faith, or um, some kind of way to make sense of these things or practice helps them in their mental well-being journey. What would you say about how water fits into that picture?
It's the big absence. It's the big thing that nobody is aware of, and it connects everything. It's we need water to survive. um it's we can create electricity from water, but the technology is being kept off the market all the time. But now slowly they cannot suppress it anymore because water is free. um we've been cut off from the water by many, when we go back to ancient civilizations, they all lived close to the water. Now we do studies and they prove, it's called vitamin blue, that people who live closer to water or are drawn to water or move to water, that they are healthier, that their heartbeat lowers, that their blood pressure lowers because of the water. But all of this knowledge is well known everywhere, but not to us. Um, yeah, that's all I want to say.
Yeah, I'm getting
But
a
water
sense.
in the spiritual world, if you see an angel, it cannot manifest itself when there is no water in the air, and there is always water in the air. It's a visualization of the water molecules, that it's energy showing itself through water. If you hear a voice, it's communicating through the water net around you. Intuition is your water talking to you. It's the water in your body connecting to something outside of your body, and it responds, and you hear something. For me, it's always a voice. So it really is my mission to help people understand that whatever you do, whether it's in health, whether it's in spirituality, whether it's in religion, whether it's in environmental well-being, whether it's in the I don't remember the word. Water is never there, but it always is. People
Yeah.
just don't realize it and are not aware of it.
Yeah, you're really bringing up the importance of water
Yeah,
in one's not just physical but also other body experiences,
yeah.
because
And
there is
one,
so much connection.
yeah, one of my gifts is, and I mean, if you're autistic, somebody you would probably relate. I remember a lot of the things that I'm interested in. So I remembered everything that I read and learned and heard and podcasts about water. I wasn't aware until I found out that I could energize water with my hands. That is what is happening. And by the way, everybody can do it because water always responds to you. It's always in communication with you because you've lived in water for 9 months.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah,
forgot.
amniotic fluid. Mm-hmm.
Um, but because I remember all these things, I connect dots and I start to see things that people don't see. Um, and I'm really happy that I learned not to give a shit about what people feel or think about me anymore, because now I dare to speak this truth that not many people are aware of. But if you're aware of it or not, it makes no difference. Water is there
Yeah, yeah,
and doing
absolutely.
its thing. And it's listening, it knows all your emotions. It has the vibration of all your emotions. You cannot hide for the water in your body.
Yeah. How did you get into working with water and energy?
I've always been spiritually interested, but for me, there were two worlds, my business world and my spiritual world. And I kept that to myself. And that is probably why both of them were not flowing 100%. Um, I did Reiki, I did a lot of spiritual trainings, but that was my hobby, so to say. Um, and when my kids will had something, they broke a leg, or I always used Reiki. And then we went to the surgeon and they said, "How did this heal so fast?" And they looked at me and yeah, my kids knew. And so but it all started coming into play when I was snorkeling in Mexico, and when I had been there like 40 years ago when I was a tour guide guiding people through the waters and snorkeling in Mexico as a tour guide, and also to Chichen Itza and all the ancient buildings. Um, and then I was back there, and the coral was dead. It was gray. There were very few fish, and I started to cry underwater because I was sad. Um, Crying, by the way, is also the tears. What kind of water that is, but that's a different story. Um, Water does respond to your tears too. Um, I started energizing the water. And then I had one of those epiphany moments when you start to connect the dots. And I was like, but nature has a self-restoring capacity. Water has a memory. Water can transfer electricity. When lightning strikes, it travels and travels and travels for miles. That's why you cannot be in the water, because you get electrocuted when there is thunder. So all of these things came, and I connected all of them, and I started speaking to the water in my mind underwater. And I was like, hey, you know what you were like. You can heal the coral. Coral, you know. There's only two degrees of extra temperature, but you can manage. You've had to face for billions of years, you've had to face so much hardship and so much endurance. You can restore yourself. And I was giving energy, and I had my eyes closed. And then I opened my eyes and I was surrounded by fish, really like unheard. And I hadn't seen many before. And they were touching me. They were touching my hands where the energy was pouring. And I was like, ooh, like, this is creepy. Like, what's
There's
going
something
on?
there. Yeah,
Yeah,
something's happening here.
exactly. And I got terrified. I was afraid of my own powers. And I was like, no, 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 this is not me, and this is not happening, and that's not possible. So I swam away, and I wanted to let go. And then I heard myself saying, come on, you paddled Colorado River, you kayaked steep 12-meter waterfalls. You are never scared. What's going on? And then I got intrigued. Then I got curious, and I did it again and again and again, and the same kept happening. And then I tested with a test of Veda Austin. I don't know if you know her, but she works with water and the phase where it crystallizes into ice. That is where it speaks to her, and she sees patterns and symbols. So I tested the tap water unenergized and energized, and it was such a big difference. The patterns in the energized water were beautiful. And then I bought a pool, and I took people with me in the water, and crazy things started to happen because my water speaks to their water, and my energy just does what the water in their body needs. And they started to heal, and things, they started to cry, or they started to fall asleep while they hadn't been sleeping for months. And It's magic. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah, that's incredible to have connected all these things.
yeah.
I'd love to hear more about some of the major things that you talk about and share in your webinars, for example, or in the way that you work with people. What can you share to really give a sample or an idea of yeah, what working with you is like or what you offer to the world?
Well, because I want to be a digital nomad, I cannot drag my pool with me all the time, and people don't want to sit in the cold water here in the river with me. So I found out a way how to do this telepathically. So how to tune into your body water and how to work with you like that. So now I can travel and I can work with people anywhere in the world. So what it's like is that I help you to see how you, underneath all the layers that you think you are, how you truly are, but how you are blocking that truth from coming out. So basically, I help people to become themselves, but and to become free. And the water in their body is speaking. And of course, like I said, the facial recognition that I learned to manage to have the social conversations and to operate in life now really become useful because I see what people don't want to say. I hear when they speak words what they actually are not saying, because I learned to listen to all the hidden messages that people say in social conversations. Um, so what it's like is that, first of all, you start to embrace water in your life during your shower, when you drink it. Um, so you get water practices that you do throughout your day, but you already do them, but you now do them being unaware. So
Yeah,
imagine
more
what
intentionally.
shifts when you intentionally work with the water in the shower every day. Then the refreshing effect that a shower always has, but is gone 5 minutes later or 10 minutes later, will last. Because now the water is not only doing the work, but in 10 minutes you take over because you're unaware. Now then you collaborate with the water. So that effect stays. It helps you to manifest because manifesting is sending things out into the universe. But the universe is full of water. The
Yeah.
air is full of water. The thing you want to communicate, your vibration travels through the water. So if you learn how to do that and tap into that infinite wisdom as well, it's an internet. I call it the water net, the world
Yeah.
wide water web. And
Yeah.
you do not need a keyboard to access it. And it's far
Mm,
more intelligent than the internet because the internet only knows what we put in, but the water knows everything else. And it also can see in other timelines. So it can see in your future. It's far more intelligent. And it's been on this planet for billions of years. So you might, the water you drink might be the water that was inside a dinosaur or something.
yeah,
Water is a
that's
closed system. It never disappears. It's a circle. It rains, it evaporates. It rains, so it stays.
yeah, it's a crazy thought. But it's yeah, absolutely true. I mean, as far as I believe. Uh, yeah. Um,
So
interesting.
imagine the kind of person that you really feel that you have inside you. Who would that be? And you might even see glimpses of that person. But what if you would truly be that kind of person? I mean, I am now. And there's still more versions of me. bigger versions in different timelines. And every time I timeline jump, because I evolve. I stayed at Montségur. I don't know if you heard of Montségur.
Oh,
In France at the place Montségur. It's in the Qatar region. It's a highly energetic place, and I camped there for 10 nights near a well. I drank the water from the well every day. I never drink water from the tap because the water from the tap keeps our body into the chlorine in the body, shuts off our subconscious communication, shuts off the pineal gland.
mm.
The chlorine in swimming pools does. That is why I love swimming in nature. So I always
Yeah.
like to drink alive water. So when people work with me, they learn how to treat themselves as well.
Yeah, I was actually wondering, do you have any practical tips that somebody can implement to already either start drinking better water or um yeah, or maybe just improve their experience with water?
Well, it's easy. They can go to my website, waterhealing.eu, and I have a free PDF with a free webinar with various tips and tricks on how to energize your water. Um, yeah, it's just a lot of videos. It's I think it's a 10-page document or even more, but a lot of links in there. So once you
Wow.
download that, you start the world of living water. Yeah.
That is so interesting. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Um, yeah, I'm curious to know if there are any other areas related to neurodivergence or your story or your professional activity that we haven't yet talked about that you'd love to mention.
Many are attracted to water, and I hope now you understand why. Because although we're not always aware, we speak the language of subconscious communication. We receive it and we speak it. We are more connected to water because water is consciousness. Um, so yeah, I and if you are afraid of water, because many autistic people are afraid of water because they are in control, they need to be in control, because that is a safety mechanism because everything else is so overwhelming. Um, there's no need to be afraid of water. There really is. I mean, one of my clients started to learn how to swim because she saw what water is and she wanted to be in the water and feel that experience again that we had when we were in our mom's womb, the safety. I'm in swimmers groups and I speak about water, and most of them say that they feel the safety of the water when they are swimming, but they don't know why.
Yeah,
It remembers us of the womb.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And there is something special about connecting that feeling of safety from before birth. It's almost like I don't know if it's better to say it's a metaphor, but it kind of reminds me of maybe another dimension that is not the material world, something that is beyond. And it could be where we go after death, it could be where we are before conception, it could be an in-between place. This is all stuff related to individual beliefs, and I'm not here to tell anyone what to believe. But there's no real difference between, like, in terms of your sensory perception, between the day before you were born and the day you were after you were born, but your environment completely changes. and that relates to a lot of experiences of healing and shamanism and indigenous traditions that are about the process of rebirthing. And so there's these interesting elements, like darkness is one element to it. When we're in the womb, we're in total darkness. We don't have that visual perception. And the being submerged by water is yet another element of that. And this is an experience that I haven't yet had, but I really would love to. Being in a flotation tank.
Mm.
Have you ever been in a sensory deprivation flotation tank?
No, I haven't, but I create that experience myself when I'm in the ocean and I float.
Yeah,
Because the
yeah,
salt
yeah,
water, I mean, I'm a woman, so the woman's body is easier to float in the water because we have the fat on the places where in the middle.
yeah,
So most women can float easily. If you can't, just put some, the things that little children have around their arms, put them
yeah.
around
Those,
your feet
yeah,
and float, and then you'll have the same experience. Okay, there's not the sound, but and there's not all the lights, but I teach people to do this. I actually
yeah.
have a whole program, 13 exercises that they can do in their bathtub to go back to the womb.
That's
So
incredible.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I wanted to you said something very interesting about all the dimensions where we go to and where we were before. There are more phases of water than we can see. It's not just liquid, gas, and solid ice. There
Mm,
are 7 phases. And whatever dimension you talked about, whether it's before birth or after birth, the water is there. Have you ever
interesting.
heard of when people witness the soul leaving the body? Some people can see it. They see a mist coming out of the body. Well, what is the mist? What is mist?
Water. I'm
Well,
guessing. Yeah.
of
Yeah,
course.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you you your the mist is something we can still see, but it then goes into different dimensions of light and frequency that we cannot see anymore, but it's still water. There are more phases of water than we can see because we cannot see in other dimensions. And scientists are not even aware of this, so they can't prove it. They don't have the equipment. But does that mean it's not there?
No, we're constantly trying to, yeah, invent new things and understand this world and ourselves a little better and
Yeah,
better. I love that you mentioned all of these experiences that can be done in order to reconnect to that birth kind of feeling, that feeling of safety. And it's undeniable. It doesn't matter what percentage of weight or molecules we are of water. It's certainly a big one, probably the most the highest one that makes up our body. So there's undeniable links between us and our environments and the whole universe itself. So
yeah.
I love it. It's been really fascinating to hear about all of this. Um, yeah, as we're winding towards the end of the conversation, is there anything else that maybe you've missed or you haven't mentioned or you want to maybe re-emphasize to the audience?
If you can accept that you are water and that there is water all around you and in every body, every person around you, and everything around you, and that you communicated with your mom through the water when you were in her womb, you still can do that now. All you need to do is to remember, to go back to when you were before you were born, because that is when you spoke the language. That is when you were sensory. That is when you didn't need words. So
Yeah.
if you are experiencing all these things and they are labeled as overwhelm, well, what if it's not? What if it's the water talking to you?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And a thought that came through me is there was no mind. I mean, there was a nervous system being developed, but there was no conscious mind analyzing and trying to make sense. And if there was an ego, it was very, very small. And so this state of before birth is very pure, very spiritual. And to connect to that seems very, very healing.
Yeah. And one last thing, and I'm not going to explain, I have the answer, but what if the one sperm cell, the one egg cell that came together, they were cells that had water in them? What if the codes of who you are now were already in the water of those two cells?
Mm, beautiful.
DNA is water.
Yeah. Wow, that's some incredible food for thoughts. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing everything that you've shared so far. Uh, Obviously, Tineke, your contact details, your links, your biography, and everything will be in the show notes of this episode for anyone who is interested in checking out some of this stuff or connecting with you. What would you say is the best next step to learning more about your world or getting in touch?
Well, go to my website, waterhealing.eu. You can either find a link to join my free WhatsApp community. You can download the free PDF, and then you will receive weekly blogs about water. I recently wrote a blog about the energy of money and water and how related they are, and the whole history about why money is so similar and why the words we use in the money language are water language. Um, or you can schedule a 15-minute call with me to explore. If you think I don't need all that, this is my girl. She really knows her stuff and I want to work with her. I would love to talk to you. And you can schedule a call with me. It's free. It's a 15-minute call, and then we explore, and after that we decide, do we want to continue the conversation or not.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing your words of wisdom, this inspiring story about autism and water and self-awareness, spirituality, and all these really um yeah, deep subjects that are not super covered in the mainstream, if at all. Yeah, and some practical tools for hope and healing on your website. Again, thank you so much for being a great guest.
Thank you very much as well. Thank you.
Such, such a pleasure.